incoming coronal hole connects with Earth. Scary space weather. Crazy regular Earth weather. And a shocking earthquake swarm in Indonesia. Check that out first. Very scary. Full of fives. Also includes a 7.5, I think it's been downgraded to. There's Indonesia. A tsunami was generated. This is horrific. Could be associated with the coronal hole wind stream. I'm sorry, the coronal hole magnetic field. As you can see here, looking at the sun's magnetic fields, you see this slack crossing set of lines here, and this very slack set of lines here. That's because the magnetic field's already connected to Earth. So keep in mind, this happens nearly instantaneously. We don't get a wind stream for several days after this occurs. So there you can see the coronal hole rotating in. Again, the wind stream from that not expected for several days, but the magnetic field connects practically instantaneously as soon as the field force lines are in the correct places. Now, speaking of field force lines, actually, before we look at any Earth weather, let's look at the actual space weather data here, because everything correlates. So your X-ray flux is flatlined, as you would expect when there's nothing but a coronal hole. But look, we've got the phi angle hovering right around 180 degrees. Clear indication that the coronal hole has connected magnetically, while the wind speed stays almost identical. Also, we are approaching a magnetometer spike. Now, those earthquakes, they occurred about 5 hours ago, which is going to be while this is on the uprise. So this warning is not done yet. I mean, the activity is still going on around the world. And expect things like antipode earthquakes. I haven't looked at a map to see where the antipode of that is, but the warning is not lifted at all, especially until this magnetometer settles down. Also, the KP index is at 1. Whoops. And the electron flux is rising. So keep in mind, electrons are relativistic when they show up. They show up very quickly. And we've been in a bit of an electron deficit, which is why everything is not currently in charging hazard. But if the electron flux peaks at the same time that the magnetometer dips back down again, that even further increases the earthquake risk and the other risks associated with the ionosphere and so on. So there's your F2 ionosphere layer. Now let's look at some Earth weather, which I wasn't planning on doing, but let's do it anyway. Here's your water vapor map. Now, you've got a convergence zone here at southwestern Pennsylvania, right there. That's where your high pressure and your low pressure are meeting. And also a nice Nike swoosh up here. Another convergence zone. Another small convergence zone here. So that's all very interesting, right? You know, there's your electric clouds, right? Or there's your water vapor, which doesn't look particularly anomalous. Now, you can see the way that was flowing from that water vapor map. That's showing you the upper level wind patterns. Now, let's look at the actual visible clouds. First of all, you can see some jet-like things here. But what's really going on in those convergence zones? The beefiest one being over southwestern Pennsylvania. Figured I'd zoom in on that. And here's your electromagnetic field force lines on the Earth. Now take a close look at that. If you don't think that clouds are electric, and that they form in ionization paths, you need to watch this video. And you need to start to study the electric universe, because solar forcing is real. Climate change is not caused by mankind. It's caused by cosmological events. So, yeah, just take a look at that. First of all, you can see these sheets of high-level clouds coming down like this, moving in this direction, which are like they're at a different phase than the low-level clouds. Now, apparently it was foggy all over Pennsylvania and New York today, but if you think that all of these parallel lines here are caused by wind currents or chemtrails, then you need to upgrade your science knowledge. Anyway, cheers. I will leave you with this bizarre video, this bizarre animation on the NASA Goes Visible, because there's almost no wind in these areas at this time, and yet that's what the clouds are doing. Enjoy!